I'm John Sullivan, accompanied by
James Neal.
And we are here to talk about the FFS draft. It's a pretty deep board this year. I mean, we have a variety of players that are versatile and should be an interesting year. What do you think, James?
Well, I think Football for Scrubs, FFS, is going to be a great season in 2008. The draft is coming up on the 5th of January, and we have many star players to get through.
Well, we're going to start off with our quarterbacks today. And the first one that comes to mind is DJ Zentner. He possesses, the abilities you need for a quarterback. He's fairly accurate. He's got a cannon for an arm, to be honest, and he rarely leaves his receivers out to dry. So look for him to be a high choice in the quarterback selection. And what do you think?
Well, I think another quarterback, Devin Neal, is a big bruiser. He's about 6'3", 300 pounds, and he can move fairly well. He has a great arm, and he's very aggressive, but he sometimes is one of the laziest players on the field. We'll look for him to step up and be a real player.
Well, our receiving class this year is pretty deep because, well, everyone plays receiver, really. But the first one I want to talk about is Phil Jones. And he creates matchup problems all over the field. You could put a small guy on him and he could outmuscle him. You could put a big guy on him, but he's too quick for them, so there's really not much you can do. Now, Phil is an aggressive son of a gun, though. He'll blow you up. He will blow you up. You have to hit him first 5 yards, or else he's gonna embarrass you. I'll tell you what. Something that a hidden trait of Phil is
Oh my God. And another player, our commentator, John Sullivan, is also a great receiver. He's tall, lanky, has a little bit of muscle, and can catch almost anything. His favorite technique is the moss. You'll see it various times through the match, and he'll usually do it on smaller guys and pick on them. And he might create matchup problems for Phil and other tall receivers. We hope to see John dominate the field.
Well, he's a pretty good player, but well, another one I want to talk about is a kid by the name of Patrick Gunning. Now, he's a pretty humble kid. He's not a chest banger, but he is. I mean, that's not good. If you don't get a gun on him, he'll beat you. He's quick. He's mobile. He's got pretty good hands, but
And the Lai twins are another sometimes overlooked, but at times can show up big pair of receivers. Adrian, one of the twins, has the best hands, and his little brother Darian can tackle almost anyone, including me and my bigger brother Devin. Look for them to make matchup problems and be surprising as they play good defense and catch almost any ball thrown at them. What about our other receiver, Jeff?
Well, let's not talk about Jeff right now. I have a name that might surprise you and the other folks around America. His name is Wild Card. But he is good. But he's not going to be a high first rounder. He's going to be mid rounder, third rounder. But he's a pretty reliable option. He rarely drops anything, and he's a brick wall on defense. I mean, you're not going to get by him much of the time. And if you need a nickname, a lot of people call him is, he's earned a nickname around the league. People call him by the fourth down target most of the time because he's pretty reliable. And his touchdown production is kind of low, but that's because people are focusing so much on him, and he gets others open. So he's a teammate you want to have on your team.
And another receiver is Jeff Raxness. What's his last name?
Raxness.
Jeff Raxness is a tall receiver, much like John and Phil Jones, who plays pretty good defense, and he's tall and can create mismatches all over the field. Look for Jeff to dominate the field in 2008.
One more. Okay, before we hit the show notes, his draft started off kind of low, but I mean it is increasing a little bit. I mean he doesn't light out for anybody. I mean I tell you what, that son of a gun. I mean,
Another great player, a receiver that is Mickey Idrizovic. He's really good at conserving time when there's not much time left in the game by going out of bounds, but he also is a solid quarterback. Sometimes he does some crazy things, but you just have to realize that that's Mickey, and he will give you some good plays.
Well, yeah, I want to talk about Chris Wise too, and he's an aggressive player. He's fearless. He'll go over the middle and make every catch for you. He's another reliable guy that, he might slip toward the later rounds, but he's a good player you want to pick up on your team.
And another receiver who's injured is Brian Hernandez. He's a real tall guy, but he can't play because he has a bad knee, and he's hoping to be healthy and go in the late rounds. A couple of outstanding players are Garrett Davis and his brother Grant, who is now in a wheelchair, but might be getting out soon, but is still immobile. Another thing about Football for Scrubs are the different schemes that the offenses run. Some choose to do the pass and run, and others choose just to air it out the whole game.
Well, a new feature added in this year's Football for Scrubs is a quarterback protection. I mean, that's often the key in an NFL game. And this year they've added a blocker to make the game more realistic and more than one-dimensional. Now, you have anyone can be a blocker. It doesn't really matter. Sometimes the snapper can go out for a pass. And some great blockers are my colleague James Neal and Devin Neal. And pass rusher, it can be anybody. You go from the legendary ones like Mickey Idrizovic, and we got Garrett Davis out there, blowing people up, and Chris Long out there, and people like that. So,
and another feature of Scrubs is the new screen passes, which is starting to make a rise as an easy way to pick up yards.
Here's one wide receiver, John Sullivan, displaying his talents. An example of pass blocking with James Neal and John Sullivan. And now, John's impeccable defense. Oh, oh, oh.